Quitting Smoking Guide. Hello, friends. Today I will explain to you the best ways to quit smoking. I will explain how you can quit in your head without wanting to by discussing the best aspects of the Allen Carr method and a few other methods that I have researched. First of all, I want to tell you how smoking works in your body. When you take a breath from a cigarette, it reaches your brain within 7 seconds and activates the dopamine receptors in your brain. Dopamine gives your brain the feeling of being rewarded. Dopamine secretion is a substance that is normally secreted in low doses when you eat, do sports, or eat chocolate. The nicotine substance in cigarettes also secretes the same hormones in your brain. What we need to understand here is that although nicotine is harmful to the body, it secretes the same hormones as if it were something beneficial to the body, and the hormone secretion is higher than other foods and similar substances. The brain closes the receptors to protect itself against this excessive dopamine secretion. You smoke more to experience that feeling of relief you start. It takes about 45 minutes for the receptors to return to normal, and you light a cigarette again. This cycle repeats itself continuously. As you can see, your brain has been taken over by the nicotine virus. There is only one organ that is not fully developed when a person is born, and that is the frontal lobe, which allows a person to make logical decisions. The frontal lobe completes its development at the age of 28. There are almost no people who are addicted at this age. When the ages of addiction are examined, more than 90% of all addictions occur in adolescence. As we can understand from here, most of us get caught up in the habit of smoking during adolescence. If we remember the first cigarette we smoked, although we experience a disgusting taste and smell, a disgusting feeling such as stomach ache, we have fallen into this addiction due to the influence of our environment and friends. The human brain consists of 3 parts. The part called the limbic brain. This part is also called the lizard brain. It is the primitive brain. This part tells you that you must smoke constantly, otherwise you will not be able to survive and be happy. It wants you to light a cigarette because it thinks that smoking is beneficial for our survival. What we need to do is to show our brain that it is programmed incorrectly. The best way to show this is that when we do not smoke after breakfast, as we do every day, our brain reminds us of the cigarette. If we do not smoke, our brain thinks that it is not damaged and starts to reprogram itself. While doing this, if we say to the voice inside us that says to smoke that smoking is a drug full of poisons and think about other things or get involved in a hobby, these thoughts will go away from us. But if we keep thoughts like, if I took a drag from a cigarette right now, I would feel relaxed, we cannot quit because then we would be making the biggest mistake. The desire to smoke first comes to our brain as a thought. If we take this thought and focus on the relaxation when we take a drag from a cigarette by visualizing it, we will pour gasoline on the fire. Therefore, when the idea of smoking comes to our brain, without allowing the feeling to develop, we say to our brain, smoking is poisonous, so we will not smoke and visualize the shortness of breath, dizziness, and bad smell we experience after smoking, and we want to live healthily. The best option is to think about other things without letting it linger in our minds every time a thought comes. These thoughts usually last for about 5 minutes, and if you tell yourself logical reasons and teach your brain to think about other things, you will get rid of smoking very quickly. The best thing you can do is to find a hobby for the first few days. When I quit smoking, I started drawing with pencils. Time passed like water, and I was successful. I quit after 30 years of smoking. I was even afraid to try to quit before. Now, the part we need to work on is understanding that our brain is programmed incorrectly and explaining to our lizard brain together with our intellectual brain that we will not be harmed at all if we do not smoke. The easiest part about this is that when we don't smoke, our brain can reprogram itself when it sees that it is not damaged. When you try this method, you will see that your brain adapts to you and hours pass without you craving a cigarette. After the first 3 days, when you overcome the difficult times and get rid of physical addiction, your job will be much easier. I wish everyone success. Now let's move on to the items. Friends, today I will tell you how you can quit smoking mentally. First of all, you cannot quit smoking with willpower. Even if you do, it will always be on your mind. Whenever something related to smoking occurs, you will immediately want to smoke. This is like a child who loves eating sugar and trying to quit sugar while his mind is constantly busy with sugar. It is very difficult and tiring. If you want to quit smoking with the power of your mind without any desire, you are in the right video. Now let me tell you what you need to do in items. 1. If we really want to quit smoking, the first thing we need to do is change our perspective on smoking. A smoker who thinks that smoking is enjoyable, relieves loneliness, and is my companion will love smoking and be willing to smoke. As a result, they will engage in behaviors such as buying cigarettes, smoking, and going to places where smoking is done. A smoker who has negative thoughts, such as smoking will make me sick, it makes my breath difficult, I will get cancer, I smell bad. Smoking is a poisonous piece of weed will experience feelings such as fear, anxiety, hatred, disgust, regret after smoking, and feeling weak-willed. So they will avoid smoking and will seek and make efforts to quit. Changing the mindset is important in smoking addiction. If we think that we are relaxed or that smoking is beneficial to us when we smoke, we can never quit. What benefits can substances such as acetone, ammonia, and arsenic have for us? These substances are rat poison, nail polish remover, and toilet cleaner. Have you ever said, I want to drink toilet cleaner right away? Or have you ever thought, I want to drink rat poison every hour? Only our brain has been taken over by the nicotine virus, and it makes us think that smoking is beneficial and constantly reminds us that we need to smoke. If we really want to quit smoking, we need to see its true face and show it to our brain. Physical addiction to smoking lasts 3 to 5 days, but mental addiction can last a lifetime if you have positive thoughts about smoking and waits for your weakest moment to make you smoke again. We need to constantly answer the voice inside you that wants to smoke and say, you are wrong. We don't need cigarettes. Cigarettes don't relax you. Cigarettes are a chemical substance that has hundreds of poisons in them and deceives your brain. In fact, what relaxes us is the oxygen we inhale slowly and deeply. This is a game of cigarette companies. That's why they put painkillers in cigarettes to make them soft to smoke and drugs to prevent them from irritating your throat. 2. Smoking behavior occurs as follows. First comes the trigger. For a smoker, a cigarette seen in his friend's hand, a pack of cigarettes seen on the table, images and sounds of the environment where he smoked before, or a mood paired with smoking cause a conditioned response that resembles the reinforcing effects of nicotine and also includes movement and desire to smoke. This movement and desire ends with smoking. It is important for a person who smokes while driving not to smoke, to pull over when he is going to smoke outside, and then continue on his way in order to break the trigger. When a person who lights up a cigarette every time he gets in the car changes his behavior, you will see that after a while, the desire to smoke in the car will not come. Your brain will get used to the new situation in a very short time. Driving will no longer be a risk in the process of continuing to quit. In addition to being an addiction, smoking behavior has become a habit that is connected to social events. It is necessary to break the connections with these habits. If he smokes after every meal, activities such as brushing his teeth after meals, exercising, reading are necessary to break your triggers. You need to do this for all your triggers. After the trigger, the idea of smoking comes to mind. After the thought part, a positive feeling comes like, if I smoke, I will relax or come to my senses. If we can change smoking into a negative and harmful substance in the positive feeling part about smoking, we can end the desire for smoking in this part. This is the crucial point. In this part, if we think that smoking takes our breath away, that it is a toxic chemical that takes over our brain, and that our primitive brain is incorrectly programmed, the desire disappears before it even starts and we never want it. After all, drinking rat poison like arsenic does no good to anyone. We can accustom our brain to thinking about the things we want and direct it. The last part, as you know, is the behavior part. In this part, if you let your primitive brain control you, you will light the cigarette or use your rational and intellectual brain and change your thoughts without lighting the cigarette and directly eliminate the desire to smoke. The only way to break this cycle is when the thought of smoking comes to your mind after encountering triggers. We need to say that smoking is useless to us and that it is a chemical that has taken over our brain. We need to break this cycle somehow. Otherwise, we will light a cigarette after every trigger. If we become aware of this cycle and break the cycle at the thought stage, we can quit smoking without ever craving a cigarette, and we will not feel deprived. At the same time, when our brain breaks this cycle, it will stop reminding you of smoking when you encounter the same triggers and reprogram itself. If you only get through the first 5 days, smoking will become meaningless for you. When you smell it well, feel the smells and wake up very energetic in the morning, you will not even think about smoking anymore. 3. Determine a date to quit smoking. It can be 1 week or 10 days later. Until that date comes, you need to keep a daily note and understand the reason for smoking by noting why you smoke each cigarette. Usually, the reason for smoking is just boredom. In the preparation phase, you should smoke your first cigarette 1 hour after waking up every morning. For example, smoking does not wake anyone up at night because they are sleeping in their consciousness. But when they wake up in the morning, they immediately want you to smoke. What we understand from here is that smoking is a mental addiction. If it were a physical addiction, we would have to wake up every hour at night and smoke a cigarette. 5. Learning something new releases dopamine in the brain as much as smoking. This is actually a very good thing. If we focus on learning something new in the first days, we can get through the first days without the desire to smoke. I learned to draw with charcoal, and it was very useful. 6. Focus only on the time you are in. In other words, it means I am not smoking today, renewing it again when tomorrow comes. In this way, we reduce the fear of living without cigarettes and strengthen our minds. 7. Awareness. When you smoke, focus only on the cigarette you are smoking. You can think about the tars, stains, blockages in your veins that those smokes create in your lungs and make you smell like a stinker, and your coughing fits. If you do not focus on that moment, your body automatically smokes the cigarette, just like it always does when you smoke. 8. Do not give too much meaning to cigarettes. The more you care about cigarettes, the harder it is to quit. Instead of saying I am quitting smoking, say I am choosing to live healthily, because the brain does not understand negative things. If I tell you not to think of a pink elephant appears in everyone's mind. So instead of saying I am quitting smoking, say I am choosing to live healthily. When you say I am quitting smoking, your brain understands that I am not quitting smoking and acts accordingly. Friends, this is a mind game. Understand this. A person can train their brain as they wish. Just understand that your brain has caught a virus, and you need to reprogram it. 9. Instead of thinking that you feel relaxed when you smoke, think about the disgusting taste and smell after smoking or the moments when you sneeze and choke. While people who quit smoking focus on the bad taste, bad smell, and unhealthy life after smoking, those who start smoking again focus on the relaxation they feel while smoking or the first breath. 10. Replacing smoking with something else. Activities such as doing sports, eating mints, or walking release dopamine into the brain. Dopamine is the substance our brain wants. The brain only wants dopamine from you and does not care whether it comes from smoking or doing sports. This is actually your key to freedom. If you only give your brain the dopamine it wants through methods other than smoking, you will automatically get rid of smoking addiction. At the same time, your brain understands that smoking is unnecessary and stops reminding you that you need to smoke. In other words, it is reprogrammed. 11. Determine your emotional and logical reasons. Make a list of reasons for yourself and list the harms that smoking causes and what will happen to your body when you quit smoking. For example, my skin color whitened and my skin revived. I started to taste food. My eyes started to see colors good. I started to sense smokers' foul smell, including this. My hands got warm and my body name revived. I started to wake up very strong in the morning. My breathing got better and my energy increased. My penis started to wake up before me and revived. I stopped from getting tired while exercising. You can write things like, I started. I got confidence in myself. Everyone started to take me as an example. Read this list before every cigarette during the preparation phase. 12. Visualize. Visualization is something that has been scientifically proven. For example, the muscle masses of athletes who imagine doing sports have developed at the same level as those who actually do sports. NASA astronauts have always adapted to all the situations in space by doing visualization before going into space. The brain cannot understand whether it has experienced an event or not. So even when you think about it, it thinks that moment has happened. You can prepare your brain for this by visualizing that you have quit smoking and what kind of life you will have. 13. Determining how you will resist the urge to smoke. If you smoke after every meal, imagine not smoking after meals by doing visualization. You can weaken the addiction by delaying smoking for an hour during the preparation phase. In this way, your job will be easier when you quit smoking. If you practice for all situations that trigger a craving for cigarettes like this, your brain will adapt to the new situation very quickly. You can experience all situations in advance by visualizing. 14. In short, we need to understand that our brain is programmed incorrectly and update our brain again.